Today is the Mazel of Chodesh Adar, Simcha, Mishenichnas Adar, Marvin the Simcha. So, an interesting Shaila was published from Rav Oberlander this past week in Otis of Yudin, which a Torah journal goes out from Yeshiva Olei Torah. So there were a bunch of divers that, that's an expensive endeavor, that came to Budapest with a mission to go into the Danube and to discover the remains of the Kedoshim, Rachmana litzlan, from the Shoya. So he says there was that the Frum Jews some Frum Jews made an issue that why disturb the rest of these Kedoshim that are buried in the bottom of the Danube. Which he thinks is ridiculous. He thinks it's a big mitzvah, and therefore he wrote an article. So I figured it's kedai to review. Oh, there's plenty.
They didn't find anything.
Okay, because
It wasn't a major city.
No, you have to find where it's not easy to find. What happened was
It was impossible.
Yeah. Right.
The most you'll find is maybe bones, and even that.
Right.
It's right down the river.
Here, this is a picture of this place. It's a here.
Like the Hudson River.
Yeah.
This is the Danish River, right? That's
Yeah.
by Belgium, or was it?
Runs through a few countries.
Countries,
They
right?
have today a memorial at the side of the river with the shoes. So the story was basically Rachmana litzlan, that the Yidden. The sad thing is the Yidden in Hungary felt very safe. Rabbi Oberland was showing me an article that was translated recently, an interview with the Satmarov in newspapers in the wartime, where the Satmarov praises the Hungarian people, how friendly and good they are to the Jews. He shows me how it's translated in some Satmar journal in Yiddish, and he shows me how one paragraph is deleted.
Censor.
Whatever, they thought that but a goy is a goy, and an Hungarian goy is an Hungarian goy. So the arrow cross.
Hungarian Jews
So there was a mamish at the end of the war. February already they were liberated. January, the arrow cross, which is Hungarians, they marched a ton of Jews. They say up to 20,000 Jews, and they took them to the side of the river. They made them take off their shoes because they wanted to keep the shoes for themselves. And they shot them into the river. The river was frigid and also was moving. There were eyewitnesses that the river was red, and sometimes they were eyewitnesses that the kids were crying. So they took out the shoelaces of the kids, tied their hands to, and the kids were holding on to their parents. And they, instead of shooting at both, they would just shoot the parents, and the kids would never fall in with the parents and die from drowning in the river. Rachmana litzlan. So I was there, and it's just. So a kid comes over, a student, a French student, asks me, what is this? So I told him, go read the plaque. So he says, no, but could you explain to me what it is? So I said, no, read the plaque. So when he insisted I should, I have no idea why this dummy asked me what this is. But it's like, so I said, where are you from? He says, I'm from Strasbourg. So I told him the story of what happened at the Danube. And I said, in the Jews in France, 75,000 were sent to Auschwitz. But you know how they ended up in Auschwitz? Because the people of France told the Germans who are Jewish, and that's why they were rounded up. And and I told him about this. My cousin has a shul today in Saint Denis, next to Paris, which was that building was a cell where they kept the Jews until they sent them to Auschwitz. I said, right now there's 6 million Jews that live in Israel. There's about 100 million Arabs that say they want to throw them into the ocean, like they did in the Danube. But most people of France support the Arabs. So, do you understand? Please, when you go back, explain it to your friends. You understand what I'm saying? he walked away, like sheepishly. That was the end. Didn't want more explanation. But I was like so misraptious after this that I went on to train for the next stop. There was I couldn't pay for it. So I went in with the conductor and asked, where do you pay for the thing? So the guy says, the next stop. So I go off to the next stop, and the guy follows me. So I said, where do you pay for the thing? The guy says, give me your ID. So I said, well, where do you pay? I still didn't get it. He says, you were traveling without a ticket, so I'm giving you a ticket. I said, no, but there was no place to pay for a ticket. You told me to come off here. Give me your ID. So my wife says, you're wasting your time, let's go. So the guy takes out his thing and he calls, I don't know, a cop, or he called someone else. So we started running away. We run past the shoes. So this is the tzir. There's two Jews running in the side of the river. And there's a few goyim. There's him, and then there's another person that was waiting. And there's goyim running, and there's two Jews running. But these clunky, fat Hungarians couldn't catch up to us. And we ran over the bridge, and we sat there for 20 minutes under the bridge till it seemed like the coast was crystal clear. And we came out, and we were saying, wow, this is, 70 years have passed, but nothing had changed.
Wow.
Hungarians are nasty people.
Was there a treasure under the bridge?
Didn't find it. Should have dug.
Should have done.
This was in Budapest.
Budapest. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at the Nekudas of Rabbi Oberlander's Tetzaveh that he published the past week. Halacha is in Shulchan Aruch, in Yoreh Deah, Siman Shin Samach Beis. Starting from the days of Yaakov Avinu, that's the, Vayivrach Yaakov. That's the eighth. The Alter Rebbe says the Chuntanya that sometimes with Ra you can't negotiate. You just have to be Kiborach Ha'om. Mashiach will come, will be a mile of his hapcha. But when we're still in Gola, sometimes it has to be Kiborach Ha'om.
Or you learn in Shem Be'ever 14 years. Or you learn in Shem Be'ever 14 years.
It says Shulchan Aruch here today is Shin Samach Beis Lois Ameis Morim Lekavre Bekarka Oiv Mishum Meilinus Ameis, person that puts him in a coffin, but he takes the mace and he doesn't put it into the ground. He's over on the mitzvahs loita say, oh, loitolinus Ameis. Nosne Be'orim Lekavre Bekarka Ein Overlo. If you put him in a coffin and you bury him in the ground, you're not over. But it's better that the person should be buried mamish in the ground, even if it's a chutzlar. Today in Eretz Yisrael, they bury mamish in the ground. But chutzlar, there usually most countries have legal requirements that there should be a coffin. So there's no breda, and they have a coffin. Okay. It's a very yeah. From a Yidden, they try to make sure that people are not looking. Shouldn't chas v'shalom turn into an issue. To open up the bottom, that the mace should be able to land on the karka mamish, because the Ran, we spoke about this, I think once. The Ran says in the Gemara that talks about Kura that the offer altar or offer toshuv is a nachas for the neshama. The Ran explains that when the person has certain things that goes in, negativity in the goof, and when it goes back, it recycles back to the offer, that's a nachas ruach for the neshama. Okay. So there is a few Sheilos and Teshuvos for him that talk about what happens if you're koyve someone in the mayim, in the water. Like, for example, Gabi Hilchah Shabbos is maya ka'ara smichta. Like water is considered that it's like sand. You start counting the space from the top of the water. So the shaila is l'gabi kvura, could you bury a mace in water? So the bottom line is that the Sheilos and Teshuvos all say no, that the burial in water doesn't work. They bring two interesting rayas. One is from the story of the Mitzrayim. It says, "Vayar Yisrael v'Mitzrayim meisas svas hayom." The Gemara says in Pesachim, look at the second paragraph here. Shoot the Dvar Yeshua, he writes in Kfur b'mayim and Kfur b'Ebi Rayim and Lisa Pesachim Daf Yukuf Yud Chesam and Bezel Metchim B'Meisa B'Yamsum Oma Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Sor Hashayam Ploy Toisen L'Yabosha, throw them out to the Yabosha so the Yidden can see that they're dead. So the Rashbam writes, V'nitnu l'Kevura Sham B'Schus She'amru Ki Hashem Nilcha Lahem B'Mitzrayim. Because the Egyptians didn't acknowledge that the Eibishter is fighting for the Yidden, they acknowledge that the Eibishter is the one that's making the miracles. They should have Anus, the Mitzrayim said Anus B'nei Yisrael, Ki Hashem Nilchem Lahem B'Mitzrayim, said there was Oichet to be buried.
You mean in Yam Suf they have a big
Marsov means is not a cemetery. Only if you're buried in the Yabosha, and that's why the Rashbam says V'nitnu Kavura Sham. Over there in the Yabosha, it's considered a Kavura. Had they stayed in the Yamsuf, that would not have a din Kavura. They had a Zechus. Because they said, Hashem Nilchem Lahem B'Mitzrayim, the Eibishter said, you know what? Spit them out, and they will have the Zechus to be buried.
But Rashi says the reason is the Yidden shouldn't say that they didn't die.
Right.
Right?
Doesn't the Abish tell other nation?
Yeah. Right, so Pashas, it means offer dafka.
Right.
The reason is that some things in Halacha, water is considered like offer. In some things, but Pashtus, that's what all the...
I'm not saying when they
all agree.
Offer.
Offer means offer, not mine.
Right.
Exactly.
When I was a Bach in Yeshiva one time, the Tzach had to go to the lion. We did a whole lion. Basically, they didn't put him down. They drilled a hole in the autumn. There was a hole.
Right.
When they put him down, they couldn't. In the third day's when they only just drill a hole.
Right. Only very, very, very Haredi places. They do it b'chashoy mamash. It's illegal. You have to do it often.
They must have feared the bride.
No, it's not a bribe. It's not a bribe.
Not a bride?
No, they do it very, very b'chashoy. The reason that you see always when there's a lavaya, the Chaver Kadisha, in the very front, they make it as if it's something very. Everyone has to move aside. They just want to. Yeah, because they don't want. There should be any problems. So there's another Sheilos Shuvah brings another eye from Yosef Atzadik. It says, "Vayom es Yosef b'meir v'eser shonim v'echanto Yosef v'yisem Baron b'Mitzrayim." It doesn't say Kvura. It says Vayisem. The Gemara says in Soite Benayin, "Ho yedei Moshe Rabbeinu heichen Yosef Kovar Amaserech Bash Asher Nishtayde Moshe Ador Holach Moshe Etzel Amar Laklum At Yedat heichen Yosef Kovar Amar Loi Oren Shomatech Asur Mitzrayim v'Kavu B'Nilos." They put Yosef into the Nilus. Kadesh is Borchu Meimah. Halach Moshe V'Amna L'Svas Nilus. Amar Loi Yosef Yigia Eish Nishma Kadosh Baruch Hu Shnegir Leschem Yigia Shvua Shishbatas Yisrael Lemencha Mara Yisra Im Ata Mara Yisra At Tzmach Mutrim La Marei Onu Manuka Mishvosel B'Yah Tzofar Neshel Yosef. So also here we see that the blush in the Pasuk is Vayisem. In other words, it's not Kura. Bottom line is,
How were they allowed to do it?
They didn't allowed to do it. They didn't do it. The Mitzrayim did it.
Oh.
They want Joseph's body there.
So when I say once they had Shlita over Mitzrayim with the Marcus and everything, they were already Sheilos on Mitzrayim. They should have taken him out then, not when they left.
Good kasha. I guess they didn't even know where he is. It was one Sarach Basosha knew where he is. So bottom line is, Tshuva say that the buried in Mayim is not considered burial. Therefore, Oberlander wrote that he thinks that it's that Adarabah, if they could find the bones of the Kedoshim.
No, the emes what he's saying is that they are, because they're at the bottom, they're in there.
There could be
in offer.
In offer, okay. But the Shaila is if they're not in offer. Obviously, if they're in offer,
if they're floating, then they can't be where they are. The river flows goes thousands of miles.
Well, that's what happened.
So looking in that spot is foolish. So the only thing they can do is that they can be looking in the sediment, which is 20 feet deep, but they're not going to start coming with machines and it's silly to even start looking.
They didn't know. They thought that they might find why they did it.
It's so naive. Because
okay,
they go with divers. The Metzias, they should have asked an ecologist, someone that knows anything about these things. When things fall into the thing, they're dredging New York City's rivers, and it takes them 10 feet before they go back 100 years.
Right. I hear. But the Halacha Shaila remains that he was just writing the Halacha Shaila, that there's no reason for Flum Yidden to scream against it. If, theoretically, had they found any exposed bones, that would not be considered food of B'mayim, and therefore it would be a mitzvah to bring them to proper burial. That's it.
Even though it's like 99.9% impossible for
He's
the
not
people
saying it's a mitzvah
exposed.
to go dredge it or go do the. He's just saying that there's no point for people to make a kol tzaika against it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Because
If they will discover bones and bury it as a mitzvah, why not? He said, why should we?
maybe
make
they're
an
already
issue?
buried.
Okay, so if the tachshash that they're going to go uncover the ground, but there might be also bones that are exposed. We didn't know. Now it turns out they didn't find anything. But
Didn't they recently find those
apparently they didn't find much.
No, but I want to tell you, these Kadeshim didn't need this specific food. They were
That's a good point. That's an interesting point.
They didn't really need it.
Kedosh Elyon, it says in this week's Parsha,
They want-
the Kohanim HaKodesh and the Begodim HaKodesh.
Maybe that's what they were looking for. Segula. They were looking for segula.
Yeah.
Just getting the dirt over under there is a segula.
Yeah.
It's holy.
Definitely.
Maybe it's a political stuff.
Huh?
A political stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Never know. But Rabbi Oberlander's point was that he doesn't think that from people should get involved. Probably he's
For this
very
reason.
politically involved. He probably has the sense that it's not kedai. You know, they have to pick your battles also. There are important battles
He's
too.
close with the government.
Right.
Exactly.
And
That's what he's saying. That's what he's
Right,
saying.
and he knows which battles are kedai to fight and which ones are not a big deal. You know, he's saying what's the big deal? You know, so go fine.
Are we allowed to have big tzaddik?
Yeah.
His bones like a Chidaza.
Yeah.
He was all I don't know which country, and they brought his bones to Israel.
That's a
They
good
buried.
question. You'll have to put it on the list for another week
Redetermined.
Okay,
because
for next week.
but you'll have to remind me after this year. You know what? Just another small shayla has to do with this week's parsha. Betachtelei Meshmois Bnei Yisrael. So it was an interesting shayla. There was a Sheilos, a Tshuvas for him that was written by Rabbi Oshri B'Mamakim. About all kinds of Sheilos that Nagea and the Shoyo. So Rabbi Menashe Klein writes him a tshuva about one of his tshuvas. So Shkocha brought this last night.
Yeah, sun was in it.
Rabbi, the Rebbe makes a thing about Rabbi Klein, is about honor, whatever.
If he's an honor.
Yeah.
Not Shakut.
If he took the name out, so leave us.
Yeah,
He used to call himself Shakut.
yeah,
Klein.
Klein. So we'll say that anyway. Klein. So he has a cute tshuva about because someone asked me. He has a name and he wants to change his name because he thinks he has a bad mazel because of his name. So he wants to change his name.
First name or second name?
He doesn't want to give it away. He doesn't want to give it away who it is.
So he wants to change his name to change his mazel. So an interesting shaila. There was a woman. She was in the Milchama. She was hiding with her baby daughter, and her husband was taken away. And then, based on what she heard, he was Rahman al-Islam. He was killed by the Nazis in Machshamam. She was pregnant already, and she had a baby boy. She gave the baby a bris, and she named the baby for the father. A few years later, the father shows up. He escaped. He was in Russia. And it was a simcha, and it was unbelievable. Okay, when the simcha was finished, and he sees his daughter again, and he has a son. What's the baby's name? I'll give an example. His name is Don. He says, what? It's his name. She says, well, I figured that was the best name to give a kid for his father. So they asked the Shaila by Rav Oshri what to do with the name. So here's just the bottom line of the Shakel V'Tarya. First of all, by Svardim, it's a koved godel to give for the living. And there is a famous story that's brought in the Chuvas Rashbatz about the Ramban and Rabbeinu Yochanan. This was a shidduch of the century. People today talk about a shidduch of the century. This must have been a
Shas and Agudah.
Exactly. Shidduch of the century. There was the son of the Ramban to the daughter of Rabbeinu Yochanan. So, They're both Chachmei Sfarad.
Oh no, Rabbi Yonos from Italy.
No, Rabbi
Girona.
Girona is...
Is Italy?
No, there's two types of Girona. There is a Rabbi
Spanish?
Yonah, yeah, sure.
Corona or
It's-
Girona?
Girona is
Corona
only...
Light and Corona Red.
If you go by train, it's about 45 minutes. It's not that far, maybe a half hour.
And where?
It's 2 stops from Barcelona.
Oh, Barcelona.
So the young couple moved close to the Shver. The son of Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman moved to his Shver city, to Girona. A short time later, the Shver passed away. So the minig was to give the name for the Zayda, so the Ramban came for the bris, and the Ramban said no, they shouldn't give the name Moshe. They should give the name to the baby. They wanted to give the name Moshe, but he insisted that they should for him. He insisted that they should give the name Yoina, because he said that Zorach Hashemesh or Bo Hashemesh, that this will be a big schus for the child, that because his grandfather, his mother's father just passed away, that he'll be zeichet to the neshama of his grandfather.
Wow.
And the Rashbat says that Taka Zakachava, that this child will grow up to be a Moededik Talmud Chochem and a Rov.
Rabbi, by my family, we have 7 generations, father, son, and father. Like
Wow.
my name is Sasson, my son is Abraham, and my grandson is Sasson. 7 generations.
Seven
Going
generations.
back.
Wow.
And they all live long life.
Yeah.
90,
Can you?
100.
Right. It's brought in the Yemen, there was Dafka Segula for a long life to have, because it's schus of Kibbutz Av, it's considered a schus, and that was a Segula for a long life. And they bring it, a lot of rayos from Shas, the Babli Yerushalmi, that there were a lot of, in the times of the Shas, there were a lot of Talmidei Chachamim that had names of their father, and the Fedish, you see that the father was alive. So,
Ashkenaz? Sorry.
there was no Ashkenaz's father. They were just Jews. And they all had names like their father. Bring 4 or 5 rayos from
No,
Babli and Yerushalmi.
What's Sfaradi? Because
They-
Moshe Rabbeinu...
No, because the Sfardim, they say they're the real Jews, so they're the Babli. The Ashkenazim say they're the Jews from the Yerushalmi. But the thing is that in the Yerushalmi, there's a lot of rayos of people that use Yerushalmi Nozir, Meiser, Chanina, and then his father was talking to him. So you see that the Ashkenazim claim that they are from the Talmud Yerushalmi. So Ibazoi, we see that there is such a thing. There's a concept. If something's befedish in Shas, that it can't be that bad. True that it's that there is a befedish brought in Sefer Chassidim. Sefer Chassidim says not to give a name of a child for a living person, and there is a concept in Halacha that Dvarim she'acherim nogu b'hem isur iyatar rashi lahatina. It's, for example, brought in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch in Hilchos Shabbos and Siman Shin Alf. Interesting halacha that according to the din, you're allowed to make Havdalah on Shabbos before Shabbos is out. The Alter Rebbe says it's also to do it l'poil. Why? Because in people's mind, when you make Havdalah, Shabbos is out. They basically came along this. The Gemara is befedish a Gemara, and Rav Kahana and Rav did it to them. When you say Havdalah, Shabbos is out, you can have a cigarette. Remember those in Israel, those advertisements from Time cigarettes? They had a Havdalah candle with a medas and the box of cigarettes. Big words, L'sif Sei Chachamim.
Right after Shabbos, they wanted to get a cigarette.
L'sif Sei Chachamim. Marketing. So.
After Shabbos, they wanted to get a cigarette.
Mela,
What do you mean? You don't do it for Rabbi. You can stay right here and look at it.
Exactly.
Just Abby, no? And you go
The Mela, the Alter Rebbe says it's also to do it because everyone thinks that this, and it doesn't matter, it's like Reis HaChochem, you know, it's befedish, mutter, and there's no man, but it doesn't matter what you know. But look, Paul, people think that it's also, so you're not allowed to be noyeg aheter. So it doesn't matter that you know that it's a Shalmi and a Babli and this, and that you know a story that Ramban, Rabbeinu Yoina. But Lapoil, Bashkenazim, therefore you shouldn't do it. And also, there's another concept, Chamirta Sakanta Misura, that so therefore, what should you do? So they bring an interesting tshuva from Rabbi Yehuda Ayala, a Hungarian, Gedolei Yisrael, that a person said his name was Yitzchak Ber, and he decided to call his son Ber. And then relatives said, "Wait, are you crazy? You're giving your son your name? How can you do such a thing?" So he had charota. He went to the Rav. What should I do? So the Yehuda Yala said that
Call one barrel and one dog.
no, they should call him. They should add a few words. The father should stay Yitzchak Ber, and the son should become Berman. Berman Schwarz, whatever. Funny name, but that's what he said they should do. So Zok Menashe Klein, an interesting thing. Why couldn't he say just change the name? So he says we know that Chazal tell us a story that when Abisha State changed the name of Sora and Avram, so it's the Yud of Sora in the Siram ala Kodesh Baruch Hu, that she was part of the name of Sora Yimenu, and now she lost out, that she got booted. So the Abisha was Mephiah, so he said, before you were part of a name, I'm going to put you the beginning of a name. So now she was Nespayas, the Yud got, not only it came back, but it was the beginning of a name. So that's what happened. That so therefore says that's why Rabbi Yehuda Asad Zechron Lebracha said that they shouldn't just give Ber and change it now to Chaim because there'll be a Taina, and we know from the Arizal that the name is as Navu Ketana. So therefore, he said, you know what? Stick with the name. Just add a few letters to the name. So he said, for example, if it's Don, so make it Doniel. Add a few letters to the name, but don't change the name completely.
Bearman is a modern name. Beryl is a normal.
I know people name today.
Last name is Bearman.
Yeah, the first name I know.
The first name?
Not Berman, but like
Like Menachem Man. Like bear and man. The second, two different words.
no, I have a friend of mine, his name is Man also. Something, you may not remember what it was, but...
Also, like you would think it's the last name.
His name is Gutman.
Didn't it have a
Huh?
First name is Gutman.
Oh, Litman, right.
Gutman. Gutman is the first name.
Litman.
Didn't it have a
Say
normal
what's
name?
that's an imperial.
That's a
Right.
similar thing. A similar
Yeah,
thing.
to add a name.
Right.
Herman.
Right. A similar thing.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, man.
Last
We had
week-
it just here in the shul. We had Rabbi Kirschenberg's son added Shmuel to his name.
Right. So the Maisa, I would say to the person that was thinking about changing his name that it's the Chayim Malvaila, or the Poiler
You
names.
see by Steinsaltz, the Rebbe changed his name.
They never changed for that.
Last name, anyways.
That's good.
That real name.
Oh, maybe that's before.
Yeah.
Maybe the last name's not a Nebuah.
It's not.
That's a riot. Last name's not a Nebuah.
Obviously, it's not.
Well, that's
It's not part of the bris. It's not part of the bris.
I would say there is maybe a whatever. There could be a
When a
Yotzim
family
and a
takes
Klal.
on a name, it's also like a
The guy's
Nebuah.
name's Antiochus.
Really?
Yeah.
Some name, biblical name like the Israelis.
Some.
Right.
The biblical name.
Yeah, Nimrod, right?
Or if you have a change your heart right after the baby's born.
That happened, right? You know that happened?
Nimrod is a very popular name.
Happened recently.
It happened by me.
Nimrod is very popular. Nimrod.
Yeah.
About the guy that was named the other name, right?
Nimrod.
Baruch HaMashiach.
No,
Like
no,
eight
no,
names.
not too much.
Oh yeah,
My classmate's son.
it was just a wrestler that got the name.
Yeah.
What? If the baby could still hear.
The kid, I was in the kid could hear. The kid, he was screaming so loud over there. Remember? What?
They don't have the name Hashverosh or Nimrod?
Nimrod, I know.
I think that was maybe not a Nebuah when they gave that name.
Not by his Nasi.
So the Shaila is like this. There's one more Shaila I was thinking for today, but it's getting late. You want to leave it for next week, or should we continue?
Tetzaveh, it's still early. I'm saying it's according to the
Okay, so let's continue.
shears.
Someone asked the Shaila last week. I don't want to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Someone asked the Shaila last week about organ donation.
The doctor is not here.
He's not here, but it's Kemeton. That's what I'm asking. So there's an organization
No pun intended.
called Halachic Organ Donor Society.
Oh, yes.
Plenty of brochures they send around all the time. By the name of the organization, you can already hear their opinion.
Agenda.
Okay, so there's a huge shakavataya about this. and the Shekhavatalia still didn't finish it. There's no conclusion as of now. There's 4 Sheilos in the Shaila. With the first and the most critical in the Shaila is, which is a big Shaila that has to do with other Sheilas, and maybe we'll continue about this next week. Which is what's the moment of death?
Live organ.
Right, they can't. The most organs they have to take from the
It has to
person
be fresh.
when it's fresh, because right after the person dies, when the heart dies, so then the tissue starts deteriorating, and they can't use any. Most of the organs, skin. There's a yotzim klal, cornea of the eye, the skin, and even that for a short time after death. So when the heart dies, most organs are not usable anymore.
Right away.
There is maybe a
24
couple
hours,
minutes.
I think.
Maybe 1 minute. Maybe a minute.
Wow.
Maybe 2. The kid said it's not possible. It's not possible to harvest
With the kidney,
organs.
say, a live donor can last like 20, 30 years. Now you're getting better and better.
Yeah.
A dead donor is like 7 years. It does usable, but it's not.
It's not as.
They'll
Yeah, because you see that, Rabbi,
Unbelievable.
you see that when a person is like, they pull someone out of a swimming pool, his heart hasn't been beating for minutes, but they can revive him, they push, they this.
Right.
So why should it be different if he's mamish dead?
That's the way it is.
They'll keep the heart alive. They'll keep the heart beating just if they want to remove.
Right.
the organ.
So what they do is.
I know if someone gets into a work accident.
Right.
I think it gets cut. They put it in ice and bring it to the hospital.
Yeah.
No, but that's like it lasts for an hour or two, whatever.
Yeah, but after the heart stops, because the heart is still working.
No, I'm saying no, but they're able to reattach an existing limb.
Oh, I guess a finger is not like a heart or a kidney or a liver. It's different.
We're talking about lungs.
We're talking about a
It's a
lung, a
bicep
heart, a
organ,
kidney.
no,
I
it's
don't
not.
know. Apparently, but that's the way it is. After the heart stops working, they can't harvest anymore the organs. So they want the heart to still be working when they harvest the organs. I mean, that's just the way it is.
I know in Israel you have to sign that you want to give your organ.
Right. So
Otherwise
the
you're not allowed
person that asked, the person that asked me about this a couple of months ago, she said that she was signing up for her renewing her driver's license, not in New York, and they have a question: do you want to be an organ donor? Was she mutter to do that? So the first thing is to ascertain the time of death, because the fact is that the organ donations are done when the heart is not dead yet. So what's tut, man? If the heart is still alive, how could you harvest the organs? There is a famous tshuva from the Moshe.
The brain is not alive.
That the Moshe says it's ritzicha mamish, and that you can't trust doctors. A famous long tshuva from the Moshe. So here, this organization, the Halachic Organ Donor Society, says that from many prominent doctors that they personally, and including his son-in-law, who said that he brought him to a hospital and that he did observation, and that the Moshe was masking b'soif yomov, that when the brain dies, that it's as if the head was cut off. If the head was chopped off, the person is dead. Because the idea is that it's not the front part of the, when a person is in a coma, the front part of the brain is dead, but the cortex is dead, but the stem is alive. But what runs the whole goof is the stem, the brain stem, and when a person dies, it shuts down, it turns into jelly, and it's irreversible, say the doctors, and therefore the Moshe was masking that this is considered death. It's as if the head was cut off. Mamela, it's misa. So, if the tests were done to ascertain that it was 100% that the brainstem had died, so Mamela, the person is dead. Mamela, the Moshe was masking that it's mutter to harvest it, and this is the backbone to the whole. There's other smaller things, issues, but this is let's go through the other.
It's only the brain. That's what he meant.
Yeah. There are many other poskim, big poskim. I just to bring to your attention from Eretz Yisrael. There is the Mordechai Eliyahu, Zechron Elbrocha, Bakshi Daron, Vadia Yosef, Zechron Elbrocha, who also agreed that this is the that this is true, that this is the moment of death. This could be defined by the brain dying. There's a second shaila, which is Isra Anomi Meis. That it's also to be a nene from a guf from a mace. So again, there's a big discussion. Some say, what do you mean a nene meguf shel mace? This is the anoa means if you're going to take the lungs and turn it into so you're going to turn it into a keli. The mission says that the kelim, the shalayasa, atzoma shalovi v'imoy tarvodas. That they get those days they used to take bones and turn it into forks and spoons. So you can't take the bones of a cadaver and turn it into forks and spoons. But this is shaloi kederech hano'osim. This is not what Chazal had in mind.
Also, it's Avsalas Nefashis.
Also, it's Avsalas Nefashis in most cases. And another taina that many of the poskim said is that it's not dead. Now this organ is alive. What are you telling me? It's nena me'eva shel meis.
Do a favor to the maker.
Yeah, others say it's a big mitzvah. So, good. Next, the shaila is there's a mitzvah of kvura and there's a isra alonas ameis. So again, over here there's pikuach nefesh, number one. There's doiche kol ha'torah kula, and the second thing is again that the organ is alive. And then there's a shaila of nivul ameis, which again there's a big discussion. Is it a mitzvah? Some say it's not a big mitzvah. Some say, what do you mean by meisei chavshi? The mace has no mitzvahs. How can you tell me that there's a mitzvah? What kind of mitzvah?
Lord Larosh.
Huh?
Lord
Loig Larosh. What? To be menavel the mace, like to do a surgery on the mace, to cut up the mace. It's also be menavel, to be mechaber.
But it's a covered for the mace.
So others say it's a covered for the mace, and if the mace was maskim, for sure it says covered. These are the smaller issues.
This is the biggest mace mitzvah.
Exactly.
Well, they always, if some
They're
accident,
dying to do the mitzvah.
if they have accident, they make surgery to see how he got hit.
They don't do that.
We don't do that.
They
don't
Because
do it,
Isra
so-
of Nivel HaMeis.
Is there a
But
difference
here-
between guys of Goyer Yid, the mace is a Goyer, in terms of Nibble Ames and all
Yeah,
that?
for sure. The shaila is if you could give a donation to a goy. So, yeah, we're talking about a yid now. Shaila is if you can give a donation to a goy. Our person would say yes. Also, the shaila is could you let that
You cover the boy.
most poskim that agree, even the ones that agree, they say there has to be that there is a donor right now and waiting for it. It can't be just harvested for standby. It has to be that right now, b'shas the mace is dying, that there is hatzolas nefashis right now in the hospital. Someone's right now waiting for the organ.
In a hospital, because they fly it quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's good. Say as long as someone's a recipient for it right
Yeah,
now. That's what they
right,
say.
right.
As long as there's a recipient right now.
I don't think that's an issue, finding people who need organs.
No way.
No, it's not an issue. Usually, it's, no, but
People
it
waiting
could be.
in line to the.
No, it's waiting to sometimes they want to take out even smaller things and just keep it.
They're waiting in line for
just
the
not about-
organs that are coming out of
Right.
North Korea.
Right. I mean, there is a sub
China.
issue to this, which is a China issue.
Horrible.
Which is,
Exactly.
America too.
right.
Black market for organs is huge in China.
Right.
Huh?
The big rice, the biggest rice in
Right.
China.
All posts
Are they
can agree
real?
that that's also
China.
gomer.
I don't know, but
That
they
there's-
were all made in China.
Do they work?
I know, but they were all made in China.
Yeah, there are organs that come
The
from
problem is
China.
that those organs weren't made in China. They were made in Lamaila.
Exactly.
Lamaila be China.
The Chinese take the credit.
That's right.
Most, there are very strong things from the poskim against Chinese organs.
Ooh.
Yes.
Trumpet case and stuff.
No. Poskim.
Also, because you are what you eat, and they eat everything.
Yeah. Not,
Everything.
yeah, but not
You
because
say
of that.
because if you take
Not because
it,
of that.
you're buying
Because
into
the
the
way they
market.
do it.
Yeah. They give their prisoners to order.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, a
Right,
bunch of us
right.
were in the United States. They told them to give them $100,000 in Kenya. They never got the money.
Yeah, that was a fruit.
It was a firm guy.
That what?
The guy was telling Israelis come to America and taking their organs and telling them he's going to give them $100,000 for it. He ended up keeping the money himself.
For kidneys.
Wow.
I remember.
And the kidneys.
And he took
It was about 8 years ago.
so they bought them also.
He made money from
They
that.
made money from them and not they paid them.
Okay, so let's look at here. There's an Rambam Yisoida Torah Perikei Halacha Vav. Misha Cholov and not the Lamas. Amro Roifim Shirfosa with Over Ploini Misur and Shabbat Torah. Oysin Masrapim Bachol Isur and Shabbat Torah. B'mokim sakona, chutz, ma'avoda zara, gila arayis, shvichas damen. That a person can have a refuah from any Issa Shabbat besides these three things. Even if it's a Mokum Sakona, you can have a healing from Shvichas Damen. If he was over and he was Nisrapa through Shvichas Damen, for example, so here is a beautiful, there's two opposing shiur. Maybe today, if there's enough time, we'll get to both. I'm going to tchaza first a shtickle Torah from Rav Shechter, Rosh Yeshiva in Yeshiva Seremoni Yitzchak Yochanan. Then I'll chaza a shtickle Torah from Rabbi Yaakov Yehuda Bleich, who's also from the Rosh Yeshivas, Yeshiva Seremoni Yitzchak Yochanan.
They love these Sheilos.
Exactly. And but first I'll start with the Rav Shechter's Torah. So he says like this. This Gemara in Baba Metzia goes like this. A very important Gemara in many of these Sheilos. Two people are walking on the road, and one of them has a jug of water. If they're both going to drink the water, Mason, they're both going to die. There's not enough water. It's a hypothetical question, right? There's not enough water in the jug for both. They know for certain that if each one is going to drink a half a jug of water, they're going to die. But if one person is going to drink, he's going to live. The Shaila, what should we do? But if both drink, they're going to die. Ben Patuda said that they should both drink a half a jug and they should both die. But because one person is not allowed to drink out the water and see the death of his friend. Akiva came and he taught from the pasuk that your chayim are more important, or koidim, more important. Our koidim is first to the chayim of your chayim. And this is very important Gemara. This is the Halacha. We know that Rebbe talks about this in Tanya. Yeah. So there's a beautiful shtickle from Reb Chaim al Rambam, the first shtickle of Reb Chaim al Rambam. So Reb Chaim says, what happens if the jug was hefker? The Gemara talks about if one person has the jug in his hand. But what happens if the jug is hefker? Wasn't it on?
It wasn't in either of their hands.
Yeah.
They found it on the floor.
They saw it on the floor. No one picked it up yet. They're walking towards the jug. So, and they didn't pick it up yet. They didn't pick it up yet. So what's the din?
Mishnah.
No, what's the Mishnah? What? They didn't pick it up yet. They have a cell phone. The water they don't have.
They see him at Sia, and it's down. One is within
They didn't pick it up.
If one's within a dollar.
They're not Dal Damas. They're 25 amas away.
Oh.
They have a cell phone, so they can call, ask a Shaila, but they have no water.
They have sewage.
What's the shot? Who can go
Maybe
get it
they
first?
should call for water.
Or should they? Is one allowed to run and grab it?
Chayacha koidnim.
Why did they ask for water for this?
If your life is precedes his,
They can
if
contact
your life is
Uber.
precedes his, why can't one go get it?
Call Geico.
Well, say, but he want,
Should he run over and grab it? One could run fast. He's a Shaila. Should he run and grab it?
if he wants to, if he's walking with the Rebbe, let him get it for the Rebbe. But if
That's the
he's not,
Shaila. That's what Chaim's question is. Should he run and grab it, or should he not run and grab it?
well, why are you talking about just one person? Why are you talking about both people? Should they run and grab it?
Whatever
That's what
fast,
should one run, should both run.
I don't know. Is
whoever
that
fast
the
there, he's
same thing?
alive. Whoever fast there,
That's
he's alive.
what should he do? What should they do? That's what Chaim is asking. What should they do?
Do they know for sure that the one's going to die if only one drinks? Do they
Yeah,
know?
that's the case.
How do they know this? I mean, like, how do they know?
That's a
Have
hypothetical.
they done this before?
The case of Ben Petura and
I was asking, is there like, are there markers that say don't go past there without drinking or you're going to die? How do they know?
But that's the case. That's the hypothetical case.
This moment, that's the case.
Oh, I mean, they know one's going to die.
Yeah.
So, okay.
If they have a cell phone, they can call for water.
I would say, like, you know,
Can only
which one's
tell
younger.
us now.
If one is 30 and one is 70, so the guy who's 70 should be smart and say, let the guy who's 30.
Okay.
Maybe we're talking about they're both exact same age and exact same mitzias. Right?
So, no.
If one needs a shot.
Right. Oh, okay.
So comes Reb Chaim. He says like this. What's up,
Both
Pshat?
get a rock and start digging and find a well.
What's up, Pshat? In the words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said like this. The Pshat in Rabbi Akiva is not that your Chaim is koidim and you're allowed to see b'misas chaverecha. Saying because your life is not. What he's saying is like this. Chayecha koidmin. You have the job. Your life is not b'sakona. His life is b'sakona. But if you're going to save him, you're going to die. So the chayecha koidmin. In this case, chayecha is koidmin. But if it was hefker, and furthermore, he says, maybe that other person could go steal it from you. He could be over the Yisur Gezel to save his life. That's not what we're talking about. The other guy is not stealing it. He's not stealing it. If he wanted to steal it, pajalista. Now the shaila is, if it's hefker, then when the Bekiva is gonna, he's masking to Ben Petura. The hefker. So then he has no right to run over to be zoichet and to see his friend die. So this is the lumdus, the first lumdus of Chaim and the Rambam. So Rav Hershel Shechter said like this. Very nice time. He said there are many shittas that are against organ donation. Okay. Why? Chief reason is because they hold that the brainstem death is not the definition of death. So the person is alive, so it's a ritzicha. Okay. Fine. So therefore you don't want to donate your organs. Okay. Legit. Here's Taina. How about he says? How about these? One of these rabbonim who hold that it's also. One of the balabatim will say that their life was sakona, but they were called up by the hospital that there is a donor for them to give them a new heart. Could they go receive the heart? What were you paskin? Asked Rav Shechter. If you're going to paskin that it's mutter to go get the heart, what are you telling him? You're telling him he could go to the hospital and do the tzichet. Because when he's going to go on the operating table to get the heart, someone else is they're going to harvest the heart from someone else. They're going to declare him brain dead. But they're going to make sure that his heart is still working, and then they're going to transplant the heart. No, so that's a tzichet. So you don't want to, you say it's also to donate the organ, because to the tzichet, how could you, so you're going to say, anyway, there's a donors list, and if you won't take it, someone else will take it. But that's what Ben Petura was talking about. The heart is there, it's on the operating table. Someone is going to do the tzichet. The doctor is doing the tzichet anyway, because that guy signed the card that he's an organ donor. But now the shaila is, who's going to run over to grab that heart? Who's going to run over to grab that heart? Now, if you believe that organ donation is a ritzicha, so how could you tell your balabas? This was his time. Just telling you his time. Reviewing what the shittas are. Mineged, there are those that hold that this is not true. That it is ritzicha. They hold that it's not like the head was chopped off. It's totally not the case, and there are more and more scientific. First of all, there's Rabbi, I remember a long shir from Rabbi, where he said what happened was in the 70s, when they came up with the perfecting the technique of organ transplant, lung, liver, heart. So the problem was that how could you? It was legally forbidden. Never mind halacha. It was illegal because it was considered. Gekommen again, there was a conference of doctors. It's a famous conference of doctors. They got together. Most of them were not even medical doctors, and they came up with a brainstorm. They figured, well, how could we do it that we could go, what could we to circumvent this problem? So they went to the legislator and said, you know what? We have a solution to the thing. We'll declare a person dead when the brain stem dies, and the heart could still function for 24, 72 hours. The heart could still go for another 2-3 days. And this way, it will not be legally considered ritzicha. Everyone was happy. Everyone,
what did they do again?
They went to the legislature and they said, instead of the
turning off the
death
machine,
by heart death, by the heart failing, will determine death by the brain dying, and the heart is still working, and therefore we could harvest so that's not illegal anymore.
Well, the guy's a vegetable, basically.
Right. No, it's not a vegetable.
Brain death.
Because the brain, when a person's a vegetable, it's the front part of the brain that's dead. And there are people that recover. It's the cortex.
Oh.
With the brain that is when the stem, which is the lower part, which is right on top of the spine, and that when that dies, it's irreversible, and no one disagrees with that. The only problem is that there are studies that are coming up mamish recently that say like this. The problem is that the person's body is still warm for another 2-3 days. So, days. So the body is still warm. Touch the body, it's not, and it looks like the person's asleep. So well, how could that be?
2-3 days?
Yep. So
The brain's still working.
So the doctor says, no, the brain is not working. It's jelly. It's nothing. It's just the heart person is dead. The head is chopped off. Just like a person's head that's chopped off, the heart is working for a few minutes. So here the heart is working for a few more hours. But Sagarnish, the person, you should imagine the head was chopped off.
But what if you do chop the head off? Obviously, nothing's.
Well, studies are
Wanna
coming
go
out
cold.
recently that
You can
say
recover?
that well, apparently no one could recover from this. It's just that studies are showing that there is some effect that the brain is having on regulation of the temperature of the body, which would be impossible for the heart to do. The heart is only a machine that's pumping the blood.
The heart tells you where to go.
And
the
but
brain tells you
the
where to
brain, yeah, and they
Right,
say that's
so
why, So there's still a little bit of shlita of the moyach on what's going on in the body. So therefore, this is a very the Sheilos is still open. So there are many that
since
that
it's going
hold.
to end in 2 days,
So it's gonna end. There's no one's disputing that. Just that the problem
it's
is
like a goy, but he's like a goisis.
ma'atzim ein of shomes reza shofach nefashos.
Even a goisis.
Even a goisis.
So he's told, so the body's not dead, it's a goisis.
Right. They hold that the body is not that he's a goisis. No one's saying that the person is going to come back unless there's tchias amason. But just that they're saying no, that the person is now in middle of gesisa.
Right.
And by harvesting the organ, you're doing ritzicha. Back, and they say, what if Moshe was told the wrong information by doctors?
Wow.
Number one, the doctors 35 years ago didn't know as much as they know today. The fact that the legislator is not changing because that it's not the political climate to change, because that's just, they're not going to stop the whole. The train is going. That's it. But halacha shouldn't be that way. If we find out now that there's still some type of, even a minute type of shlita that there is still in the moyach over the goof, so how can you tell me that the head was cut off? It was not cut off. The mela tzitzicha. So a mela back to the old tshuva of the Moshe, that this is b'shas gesisa, if you harvest a limb, that's ritzicha. So therefore, this is the big question that's out there. This is the biggest question. The question of Yisra Nomi Meis, Kvura Nivla Meis, and it's smaller compared to this big question. This is the question.
When we say like you're allowed to move a tree, but they go or be mafter it, maybe the guy can sell himself to the guy, and then the guy owns him.
Oh, but he doesn't own the guy. Doesn't own the Eibush that owns our goof. We don't own ourselves.
I'm kidding. No, what I'm saying, but the shliach, maybe since the guy is the shliach, does that matter at all? In other words, the
only question is,
whole shaila is there a goisus? Maybe a goisus is not the raisa to kill him. Maybe it's only the rabban.
No, it's the
Raisa.
The Raisa. There's a shofar. Yep, it's the Raisa. 100%
Still
the Raisa.
alive. Ghost is still alive.
The
But
problem
what about
is
the fact that sof it's saving it's not pikuach nefesh now to get this the limb.
but that's why the din is.
So if you did it,
Shvichas domim, because the problem is doctors don't believe in Chayei Shah. A din,
right?
a
It's
person
garnished.
is
The
not
guys
going to
in the
live.
aspis, get rid of him.
Right. If a person's even going to live for a few moments, it's kedaitim machal Shabbos. But the doctors are not don't believe in that. So therefore, it's very tricky. The Moshe says you can't trust doctors. So I once heard this beautiful thing. Tov Sheberoifim. So there was a Rabbi Kusil Fokash. Once a conference of Rabbonim, he said a beautiful thing. He said a doctor got up once. He was at a medical conference, and he said, "How come rabbis say that doctors are not to be trusted. So he's this was in Israel. So he said that he stood up and there was a woman. He said, I want to ask you a question. An Indian woman came to your practice, and she's asked you to look in her ear, tell her to ascertain what color the wax in her ear, if it's black or yellow. You say, what's the difference? So the woman will tell you, if it's yellow, I'm allowed to sleep in the same bedroom as my husband. If not, I have to sleep in a different bedroom for 10 days. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? If you have just one iota of menschlichkeit, you're going to say 100% it's yellow. You're going to write a note to husband, it's 100% yellow, it's not black.
And send it to a psychiatrist.
Right? Why? Because Michigan and those Indians at Sidreit going to kick his wife out of his bedroom for 10 days because the wax nears. So you're going to tell, right? Now, you're not a Mekayim Torah mitzvahs. I should trust you that you're going to say that the woman, the blood is coming from the uterus, the cow is coming from that she can't be with her husband for 14 days, and the Nebuch, she's just in the middle of having a baby, or did surgery and this, he can't even pick her up. You have a little decency, right? So you're going to say whatever it takes to say so her husband can help her out. But to us, that's Issachorus. So therefore, we can't trust you. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So anyway, to summarize, this is still a big question. But for those that are asking, there is if a person decides, and again, the person should think about it seriously, because it's a very serious shayla. But Rahman al-Islam to ever sign on any card that's with the license to say that it's an organ donor. If a person really believes that it's permissible, at least it has to be done where through a society like this, where at least the minimum of what halacha requires, according to those persons that believe that this is mutter, is kept. We shall help, and we shouldn't need it. We should be zeicher now.